Welcome. You've entered a sacred circle where wisdom is woven, not taught. This is the Shaman's Journey, where the divine feminine leads with intuition and through embodiment. We are three master shamans initiated through the Onto High Ascension Academy. In each episode, we simplify the path of awakening through raw conversations, lived experiences, and a deep soul knowing. And then we journey. We guide you through a potent energy shift with Onto High Alchemy, belief code, shamanic journeys, sound bath, somatic integration to anchor in real transformation, not just insights. This is not just another podcast. It is a living transmission and a space to return to yourself. So breathe, feel, and let the journey begin. I am one of your hosts, Jaylene Starrett, and I am also a quantum life coach, an early childhood educator, and the author of Big Feelings, Brave Parents. And I am joined by my soul sisters.
Hi, I'm Karen Peters-Bowden. I'm an Onto High Master Shaman. I'm also a licensed independent clinical social worker, and I'm trained in somatics, trauma yoga, and sound.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Brooks. I am also an Onto High Master Shaman, a belief code practitioner, a auriculotherapist, and a somatic yoga instructor.
Yeah, thank you both. I'm so grateful for another conversation today. And today's conversation, we're going to open up on navigating miscommunications and negative energy, because I think that one is something that all of us deal with, if not on a daily basis, every other day. And it can really try to knock you off course. So I think this conversation is really important to have, because when we're on our journey, it's so important for us to remain in flow and grounded. And when somebody comes at us with that negative energy, it can really put you off centers. And I'd like to open up this conversation with Karen. Give us your perspective from a therapist standpoint.
Sure, thanks, Jaylene. From a therapist standpoint, when miscommunication happens, and also really with energy work at all, I always encourage people, and I implement it myself, as we all do, is looking at when you're in a situation and the emotions come in, and emotions can come in very intensely. Like, for example, yesterday I experienced a moment of confusion and frustration, and it came in very quickly. And the encouragement and a very, very valuable process is to take a breath, take a step back, and then recognize, is this even coming from this situation? Is this a physiological response, an emotional response related to a previous wound, trauma, etc.? One thing I do share with clients is look at it more often than not. 8 times out of 10, what you're dealing with is not coming from the now. It's an ego protective mechanism, right? That was triggered. And then really bringing it initially back to the body. And for me, it's taking a breath and then fostering the communication if it's in conversation with other people. Because sometimes, and on occasion, like that happens just internally within ourselves. Caitlin?
Yes, thank you for sharing that perspective, Karen. That is very helpful, because I think when we are dealing with a trigger from the ego, slowing down is already going to really help, because the ego wants to go outward, rush, grasp. So if we start out by just slowing time down, slowing our breath down, and coming back into our body, you can access more wholeness in you, because you're in your body instead of just in your mind or in just a part where you're feeling your emotion. You're coming at it from a slower, more present whole frame. And that's kind of like a good way to think about it, is like staying in your frame. Can you stay in your frame, the boundary of your body, and just breathe into that, and then see where that starts to go? Curious to see what some of your insights are, Jaylene.
You both brought up like really, really great topics because, first of all, we have that trigger might not even be related to this now moment. And then the second part of that is like, can we just like sit through that emotion and breathe through that and then just honor that process of feeling an emotion because we're human. That's never going to go away. We're always going to still get triggered. And let's just be real about that because I think sometimes on the spiritual journey, we think love and light, we're never going to get triggered again. Not the case. It's just what changes is how we deal with that trigger. What changes is mindfulness. And I think expanding on that is like when we enter that situation, like with another person or other people where it's a heated moment, perhaps, how can we not get carried away with that? And then, you both really brought it home is like, can you just be with yourself? Because the only thing we can truly control is how we respond, is whether or not we allow ourselves to get carried away, whether or not we stay present, because it's okay to have to take a breath. It's okay to have to walk away. It's okay to say, I'm not really in a space where I can respectfully enter this conversation. I need to pause. I need to take a breath. I need to collect myself. I need to even do some self-reflection to see what I even really think. Because often in those moments when we're triggered, a response or rather a reaction comes to mind, and that reaction isn't fully grounded in what we, in our wholeness, really wants to say. We're just responding based off of that anger or that trigger. So I think the most valuable thing that we can do is taking that breath, is stepping away for a moment to collect ourselves and even think about, how do I really feel? How do I really authentically want to respond? And then allowing ourselves that grace in order to come back to that conversation and revisit it and say, hey, I did some self-reflection and this is what I really think.
I agree so much. And I love where we're going with this topic because what happens is, especially in communication with others, is it's perspectives and triggers that are coming up within ourselves and then the energy in the interaction. So by getting centered within our body through the breath, or for sometimes, and I use an example for me, like just movement, shaking, getting out for a walk, then it brings in more clarity just by taking that step away. And then, Jaylene, to expand on what you were saying, then it's to come back and be able to come with the curiosity, to come with the questions, to be able to see that there are multiple perspectives when it's more than one person, and to be able to say, okay, I recognize like this is where I was coming from. And then those opportunities are the opportunities for learning and growth as well. Not just within ourselves in our own process, but when we're building relationships, because it's curiosity, it's respectfulness, and it's accountability and authenticity on really where we were at in our own process. So, Caitlin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you both have brought up some really beautiful tools. Like, yes, we are recognizing that this might not be related to right now, like the emotions that are coming up. It's something that happened maybe at another time, or it might even be with somebody else, but it's just being brought up right now. And so, really stay with what is here and now, stay in the present moment, and then just reflecting on what is coming up in an authentic way, but also understanding that what the other person is talking about is also coming from their perspective as well. Like we're just trying to hear each other instead of going outward and reaching for what we think they are thinking. It's honest communication between two people in the present moment, not trying to project, well, I think they're thinking this about me. We're stopping and finding out, what are you really thinking right now? What is really coming up for you? And it opens the door for better connection and communication. Jaylene, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you brought up something like super important, and that's like the projection piece. Because, like, I'm just going to talk about my personal relationship right now. Like, entering into it, like, unconscious me, like, 7, 8 years ago, it was like, oh, if you don't do this, that means this. That means that you don't love me. That was like that wounding that I really had to work through. And then so it was like, it's so big to really actually sit and just be like, what do you really think right now? Because it's like, truthfully, we never know what people are thinking. We might think that we can interpret a look. We might think that we can interpret somebody's vibration. But the truth is, that's their authentic experience. And we don't have any right to project or assume what they're thinking or feeling, because that only leads to arguments. The other piece that I'm going to add on to that is, like, we have to consider when we're in a relationship with somebody or a friendship, like, what is the past history of communication with that person and or karma with that person? Because that absolutely is going to influence how you're showing up right now, because there is a pattern of communication there, or there's a pattern of wounding there that automatically, when you enter into a conversation with them, is going to surface at some way, shape, or form. And that's where our own individual inner work really comes into play, so that we don't have to follow that path. And then the other piece that I'm going to say is, when you become cognizant of that, you're going to notice that you're responding in a different way, but the other person isn't. And that's even more triggering, because you're like, I'm doing the inner work. Why aren't you? Your inner work is not anybody else's job to do, nor is you doing your inner work. Does that mean that somebody else has to do the inner work? Maybe that's not their path. And that doesn't mean it's right or wrong, or that you're, better or worse than anybody else. It has nothing to do with that. It's just a simple fact of, I am choosing to do my inner work so I can feel inner peace. And I honor if you're not feeling inner peace, but I don't have to stay present in this room, in this conversation right now, because I am honoring myself. I'm honoring my inner peace. And if my inner peace cannot sustain in your presence, then I need to do the best thing for me. And maybe that's removing myself temporarily until the emotions relax a little bit. It's all about awareness. It's all about the awareness of that past history, and the fact that that person isn't expecting you to hold your inner peace right now. They're expecting you to come at them. And so they're probably in defense mode. And it might take you 10 or 20 times of consistently staying in your inner peace for that person to not feel attacked based off of the past history. We have to honor that. That person doesn't feel safe. That person doesn't trust that we are showing up as a different individual right now, and they need to see consistency. Karen, what are your thoughts?
When we're caught up in that, it's recognizing that we're also still operating from a subconscious and unconscious pattern and program in that specific relationship. So, as we're becoming more aware, any of us, and as we're making our shifts, naturally we're going to see the same pattern playing out. And through stepping out of it, getting back to the breath, by being accountable, by recognizing how in previous communication we've contributed to that, then it's also, you mentioned the calmer, Jaylene, by recognizing that and releasing that control, seeing that there's different truths and perspectives in the situation based on communication patterns, then what happens is the other person also has an opportunity to shift. And whether they choose to do that or not, that's their journey. And that's not for me or anyone else to decide their path or want to, because then the ego starts kicking in again and it gets into that right, wrong, good, bad, and it's deflection and projection. And so it's recognizing, no, like, we're in this situation with two people or a group of people. And when there is a previous communication patterns and these relationships and karmic patterns, it's we're only responsible and accountable for ourselves. But yet, also being conscious that by doing it a different way or stepping away or not getting so emotionally reactive, myself, any of us are offering an opportunity for the other person to make a shift and change, even if it's the slightest perspective, to also interact on a different way. And if that doesn't occur, then it's for us to go through the process and the emotions in regards to the dynamics of the relationships changing. So, Caitlin?
Yeah, I think you guys bring up valid points of also like if this is a repeating cycle that keeps happening and you are finally at a place where you can have a more expanded view on what's really happening and have the wherewithal to be able to take yourself out of that loop, then it does really just bring up the fact of like it's our personal accountability and responsibility. And yes, we want to enact change with this person and we want better, but we ultimately can't force them either. And if they don't want to, then there might have to be a boundary that needs to be put in place. And so it's like coming back to if you are sure in your own authentic alignment, being honest with yourself and your patterns and knowing what your values are and being strong in that, doing the work needed to uncover that, then you can at least have that stability of knowing where you're coming from in that frame when you're interacting with them and what needs to happen. Is there a boundary, or maybe you do need to walk away or end the relationship or whatever, but then you have that solid foundation that you are acting from.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. And I think just to summarize like this conversation as we wrap it up with final thoughts is like it 100% comes back to us. And we can only control what happens within our bodies. And as we go on this journey of cultivating inner peace, it's so easy to want to project that on other people, to want to save other people so that they feel whole and they feel inner peace and want them to do the same work that you're doing so that they feel that too. But ultimately, I think what we're really saying here is like when miscommunications happen, it's an opportunity to really check in with yourself and see what do I actually really think? How can I effectively bridge this conversation peacefully? Can I do that in this moment, or do I need to come back later when all of the emotions have calmed down? Because sometimes that's really all it is like there's just too many heightened emotions right now. When everybody's calmed down, at ease, we can more effectively say what we need to say. And I think like sometimes I just need to write down and to read my piece of paper in front of somebody, because I've 100% done that multiple times. Like that's what needs to happen. That's how I do it. So it's all about finding that way of like, how can you express yourself? Can you express yourself in that moment? And if you can't, can you be at ease and peace within yourself, knowing and standing strong within your own frame that this is how you feel and this is what you stand by, this is what you'll accept? Because absolutely, sometimes when we cultivate that inner peace, sometimes all that which is not in alignment with that inner peace falls away. And then it's like, can we be okay with that? Karen, what are your final thoughts?
You know, for me, it's okay in any interaction. It's like, okay, to be self accountable. How was I contributing to this? How did I contribute? Right? Thoughts, words, actions, body response. How did I contribute? Where it's coming from? And how can I get clarity? A lot of times it is stepping away, like we talked about. A lot of times for me to get clarity, I will move. So whether that's a walk or an activity or dancing, and then it's calming down the body because and bringing it back to the psychology of it as well, the brain is not going to calm down the ego as well as energetically calming down until the body feels safe. So, first and foremost, it's for me, and as I share with people, is coming back to that centeredness, as Caitlin said, and that safety within the body. And whatever and however that is for you, writing, moving, showering, etc. So, Caitlin, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's all very good. And I think we also can just kind of distill this all down as it's showing kindness to ourselves, but also to the other person. And sometimes we have this mistaken idea that we confuse it with like niceness. because we think that like kindness has to be always just positive, and it's not saying that this isn't positive, but it doesn't always feel good when you have like negative energy coming at you and you get in that with somebody. But it's actually the ultimate kindness to yourself to take a moment to get regulated, to be authentic in your expression of your emotions and what's coming up. And it's also showing kindness to the other person because you're opening the door for a new way of relating. And that boundary of your authenticity and sharing might be just enough to give them a shift of like, oh, well, maybe I do need to show up a little differently or do something different.
Thank you. Thank you both. This was an amazing conversation, and we hope it was super insightful to all of you listeners. And I now invite you to part 2, where we are going to journey into unlocking this conversation and unlocking your inner peace so that when you come into miscommunications or negativity, this will help you stand in your own. So take a deep breath, and I invite you to lay down and get settled, and we are going to begin part 2 of this journey. So now I invite you to just relax, and if you are anywhere where you're distracted, please pause this now and come back to this when you can authentically lay down and relax so these activations can flow. And when you are ready, take another deep breath, and Shaman Caitlin is going to begin us with belief codes.
Now that you are all settled in a restful position, I'm going to find and release the top trapped emotions that are blocking us from that authentic and centered connection. I'm just going to tune into the field of everybody here. It doesn't matter if you're tuning in live or later, it will reach you. The first trapped emotion that is coming up is anxiety. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to release that by swiping over my governing meridian 3 times, serving as a proxy to all of you that are here. So you don't have to do anything. You can just take a nice deep breath in and out as we release. The next emotion coming up is despair. Releasing that one. Then we have heartache. And those are the 3 emotions coming up. So we released anxiety, despair, and heartache. Take a nice deep breath in and out, and just take a second to notice how you feel as we release those emotions. And now we will flow into the next part of our journey.
Let's just take another big deep breath together as we really release and recognize how emotions have been clouding us, how emotions have been leading impulses and reactions, how emotions have maybe even been controlling our voice box. And taking another deep breath. What if we allow love and peace to lead our impulses, to control our voice box? How might that change our experience? In our journey today, we are going to dive into inner peace, into love, into honoring where everyone is at, including ourselves. Allow your body to relax deeper and deeper as you just let inner peace and love lead. There is nothing you need to do. You just need to relax. You just need to trust your body. You just need to trust peace. Can you actually trust that peace is here for you, that peace is guiding you, that you can have peace in your life? Take a big, big, deep breath with me, with us as we are together in a circle. As I release, you release. As you release, we all release. We are doing this together in community, and you are a sacred part of it. Let the inspiration to let love lead be guided by your own inner wish to be more loving, to be at ease, and let it also be a collective wish and responsibility that we each hold for each other right now. Let any resistance melt away as we serve a higher purpose for each other. We all come deeper into inner peace when we stand together, when we do it together. So take a big deep breath and allow that inner peace to sink in deeper. And as we hold this sacred container, we're going to invite in a parallel reality. That reality where you're in the middle of that conversation, that miscommunication, that negativity. See that version of yourself taking a big deep breath with us now. Staying grounded in the inner peace. Allow that inner peace to flow to that version of you now. See that inner peace grounding them. And maybe that inner peace just opens up a little window of opportunity. A window of opportunity where they recognize that they are about to be swept away, where they recognize that they have a choice to walk away, to take a deep breath, to revisit the conversation later, to respond differently, to recognize that that person is also feeling unsafe. How can we let safety lead? How can everybody just feel safe in this moment? Maybe we just say, I hear you. I hear that you have a lot of emotions about this. My goal is for us to meet in the middle so we all win. How do we all win? Allow peace to now install different responses into your automatic system. And now we're inviting in another parallel reality to that version of yourself that didn't listen to those little prompts, even though they knew they had a different response available. That version of yourself who's judging yourself, who feels shame, who knows they could have done better. Allow love to lead, allow peace to lead. Recognition and self-reflection is the first step. And the fact that this version of yourself is reflecting on the conversation is absolutely powerful. Empower them. Let love, let peace lead. Take a deep breath with them. Empower that version of yourself to reflect deeper. Give yourself compassion. Give yourself love. Allow this to be a beautiful learning opportunity. Nothing is wrong. Everything is but a step in the journey, even the uncomfortable ones. Can you honor this step? Can you honor this misstep and the self-reflection? Nobody's perfect. None of us here are perfect. Release the ideals of perfectionism and simply allow yourself to show up as your authentic self, imperfect, yet beautiful. And as these three versions of ourselves unite, the one grounded in inner peace, the one self-reflecting, the one noticing the window of opportunity. Hold hands with these versions of yourselves. And then look up and witness that we right now are all opening a portal of transformation together. Remember, we are together. We are doing this together. And collectively, with this intention, we have opened a beautiful doorway of opportunity for real change. Allow the belief codes that Shaman Caitlin has run to now enter into all of the hearts that are here. Allow the sound bath of Shaman Karen to support you vibrationally in cleansing and releasing. As we on this journey form another triangle, supporting you as you support yourself. In unison, in tandem, holding hands with these versions of yourself, see, feel, or sense yourself beginning to float upwards towards the portal. As you flow through the portal, allow it to cleanse you. Choose to leave behind the anxiety, despair, heartache, the tension, the old ways, the old patterns, the karma. And enter this peaceful liminal space where nothing else matters except this moment. Accept this moment where we are together, we are journeying together. Inner peace and love leads. The energy and vibrations flowing through you. And all that you hear now is the sound bath journey. As you take a deep breath and allow the sound bath to carry you away now. take a deep breath. And as you flow through this liminal space with these sound vibrations, we are going to begin to land. So take a big, beautiful deep breath and relax. As Shaman Caitlin begins to guide us with somatic integration.
Yes, we are just going to somatically integrate everything that we've taken in today. Rest your palms open either at your sides or on your lap. So face up, palms. And then take a nice deep inhale and exhale. And begin to tune into your body. Allow yourself to inhabit your body. And if that is a new concept for you, feel your energy inside of your body. As you do this, you might notice that it almost feels like your energy is wearing the bounds of your physical body, your skin, almost like a glove. Like you feel like it's a glove over the top of your energy. And when you sit with it further, you will feel that energy will be in your body and outside of your body at the same time. It's very subtle, and just sit with that. And once you feel nice and centered and stable, I want you to notice any sounds in your environment. But I don't want you to reach for the sounds. Let the sounds just come to you. And just notice them. Just noticing what's here right now in the present moment. It's not something to have to think about or analyze. Just let it be there. This is what it feels like to be in your own body, to be in your own frame. And this is the integration of everything that we've taken in today. This is the embodiment of it. And when you're ready, you can gently begin to move in any way that feels comfortable to you. If you need to shake your hands out, your legs, if you need to sway, if you need to breathe, stretch, whatever feels good to you. Just releasing any last kinks or things that are ready to go. And when you're ready, you can also gently open your eyes, let your eyes refocus. And with that, I would just like to thank you. I have so much gratitude and love for all of you here today, walking the shaman's journey with us.